In late 2020, an all-new game for Switch, PC, and mobile phones was announced. This was Drawn to Life 2 Realms. It wasn't that much of a surprise though, as it was leaked via rating board listings about 2 months prior. 2 weeks after that, a trailer was leaked via 505 Games YouTube and was deleted. Like, come on, how do you guys leak the same game twice? The ratio of games to leaks. That's a lot. A new Drawn to Life game was something that was talked about during the dark years of the franchise though. In November 2020, executive producer Joseph Tringali, a veteran of the franchise, posted art for a failed pitch from 2017. These humans terrify me. I mean, to be fair, that's all it was, a pitch. The guy on the right is Mike, the people on the left are vacuum salespeople? I don't know. Unlike SpongeBob and Drawn to Life Wii, Drawn to Life 2 Realms is a canon Drawn to Life game, meaning more or less Drawn to Life 3. Now you might ask, how is this a canon sequel when the universe of the previous 2 games ended and they established everything were only memories of an induced coma?
Because they retconned it so this game could exist.
Alright, that's not entirely fair, but it's basically the case. This game exists more or less because Mike still has memories of the villagers in his head. In the interview Jeremiah did with the Drawn to Life speedrunning community, he stated that Drawn to Life the next chapter wasn't ever intended as the end, and that you could always return to the universe because of dreams and memories and whatever nonsense they felt like having in that game. So technically it's fair, it just feels so weird to me though. Speaking of Jeremiah, he would not return to work on this game in any capacity. In fact, in 2020, in that same interview I've been referring to throughout this video, he stated that a new Drawn to Life game would still have to get his approval, but he likely wouldn't have been part of any of the production. Now this interview took place in late January 2020. Drawn to Life 2 Realms released December 2020, so unless Jeremiah was just being coy or specifically wasn't saying anything, that might mean this game had a development of like, what, 10 months?
So look, I mention this because I'm just gonna say it, this is one of the worst games I've ever played.
Listen, before the JeffCompass series, I reviewed bad games frequently when I was a teenager. The videos were amateurish, but my point is, I have played a lot of bad games in my life, and Drawn to Life 2 Realms, it might be in the top like 5. Smiles on our face, let's start with the positives. I love the graphics. They're really well made, and the presentation itself is really good. This is what I would expect out of a Drawn to Life game in 2020. I think the characters that were brought over look amazing, way better than the 3D Wii models, and of course, the music is as good as ever. The lead artist, Edison Yan, has worked on the series since the first game, and so did the music lead, David Franco, and it shows. Here's the thing, I would say the art and music is basically perfect, but everything else just feels off, which is bizarre, because this game was developed in part by Digital Continue, who had a lot of Fifth Cell members on it and even contracted a few of them. I was surprised to learn that because it just doesn't feel like it to me. I have no clue where to even start with this game. How about the story? Oh God. The whole gimmick of this game is you switch between the Raposa village and the real world, where Mike and Heather live, and this is following the events of the tragic car accident, of course. I don't even know how to describe this story. Over in the real world, there are just these generic, evil shadow people who spooky and scary. Wilfrey's gone, although is implied to still exist, but this new villain is the most generic, boring character. I forgot his name. It's apparently Aldark. You know what? I don't understand his motivations. He seems to just like torturing people, which is kind of what Wilfrey did, but the difference is Wilfrey was an evil Raposa, and we saw his interactions and lore with the villagers in a much better written light, especially with the idea that Wilfrey is the devil. And who the heck is this guy? Satan's brother? Apparently Aldark is trying to mess with the minds of the real world to make Mike forget about the Raposa entirely, and it's like, why? If this is supposed to be the real world and no longer supposed to be a dream, then why on earth does he even exist? Do you get it? I sure don't. Why is Aldark even doing that? Just to be a jerk? Torturing someone after they had trauma that ruined their life. Mike just has the worst life ever. Like, everyone's just out to get this guy. The car accident is heavily talked about throughout the game. At one point, we meet up with the guy who caused the car accident, which is just some sheriff, and Mike refuses to forgive him, and we don't understand why the sheriff got into the accident, and it's just like, this feels like retcon territory. You're not going to convince me that this was Jeremiah's original vision for the narrative. It just feels like they added it to make a plot point. This wasn't necessary. The story is not tying up any loose ends. And near the end of the game, Joey just proposes to Mary out of nowhere, and then they kiss, and it's just like, okay. Sure. Like, yes, throughout the original games, it's implied that Joey and Mary love each other and are meant to be together, but it's charming because they don't throw it in your face. It's just a cute little friendship. We barely even see Marie and Joey in this game. They don't develop at all, and it's just like, bam, married. Like, I like the idea of it, but you guys did it wrong. You wrote it wrong. I'm sorry. I don't know. Did any of the original writers even work on this game? Like, I have so many problems with this story. You can make a Drawn to Life game non-canon. It's been done twice before, and this game shouldn't have have been canon if they weren't going to be able to afford to make this a full-fledged drawn-to-life game. Here's another problem. This game throws dozens of humans at you, and they're so boring. The original cast worked because they all got fleshed out. You learned about them for 2 games or solved their problems. They were unique. Here, hey, it's Jeff. Get away from me.
Don't mind if I do, thank you.
What a generic name. These people all say nothing. They say words, but they're saying nothing. I don't remember anyone besides the sheriff who wasn't even written well. And then there's Allie, Mike's supposed crush who hates him all of a sudden because of the evil aardvark. At a minimum, it is nice to see everyone from the first 2 Drawn to Life games back. And they do represent all 3 villages we met in Drawn to Life Next Chapter DS. Thank you for something. But no one feels in character. Joey and Marie are just boring shadows of their former selves, and no one feels really important in this game. Like, everyone feels like a side character. So look, there are people who will ultimately say they like the story, and that's fine. That's your opinion, and I wholeheartedly respect it, kind of. Or some people may say that they don't care about story, period, in games. I'm one of the few people who play Sonic games, and I just tune out the story entirely. So I get that.
But if you need convincing this game is complete trash beyond the story, let me just tell you, this game either crashed or stopped working in a unique way 11 times. 11 times. 11 frickin' times.
This is completely unacceptable. I genuinely want a refund. I've never felt so mad about a game before where I've actually wanted a refund, but this, I feel entitled to one. 11 times. What usually would happen is a load screen would last forever and it would not go away. I would press every button and the load screen would just keep on trucking, keep on moving on, but I would hear text boxes mashing, meaning the game was still happening. I just couldn't see it. Sometimes pressing buttons during the load screens would mean I inadvertently edited my character. Screw it, we're keeping it. It's proof that this game is broken. So I had to close the game frequently. If it happened once, I wouldn't care, we wouldn't be talking about it, but this was a recurring issue that happened in my playthrough. And there's no universe or realm, if you will, where this is okay for any game. Super Monkey Ball Adventure. That game might be garbage. Not might, it is. But you know what? I could play it without it imploding upon itself. One time, I couldn't enter a door. I don't know what I was doing wrong. I pressed every button, like 10 times. I thought maybe it was my fault, or maybe I did something out of order. So I literally would just exit, mash through an entire conversation between Joey and Marie, which took forever, and have the same freaking problem. How does this even happen from a game design perspective? One time, I booted up a set of levels, and they just completed themselves.
What?
The UI was still present, but the next cutscene just started playing.
You know what? This is a positive. I don't have to play 3 levels.
In the final levels, I think my Switch was on the brink of exploding. Look at the footage, look at the footage, look at this footage! And the frame rate, it dropped to like 3 FPS, maybe 4. There are games like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I think fans who say they didn't experience technical problems are either lying or just kind of fine with them, to be honest. But there are some people who swear by the fact that if you have it on an SD card, it'll run even worse. And you should move it to your system memory because that makes it an excusable problem. So okay, I did that with this game. It still crashed multiple times and gave me this abomination, so it clearly wasn't that.
And I do want to say I'm playing the Switch version, so maybe my problems are because of that. This game also released on iOS and PC, and probably those versions are better, and I know the PC version is always the best thing of everything. So maybe it's just that. I don't think this happens to everyone, but I'm not going to sit here and feed you a false story about this game. This was my exact experience, and I think it's only fair to share it how it happened.
I'm also not going to take excuses like your Switch is old, you needed more free space. It doesn't matter to me. This has literally never happened with any game I've played on my Switch before. It could be because I played this game in long sessions, because obviously I'm doing a game review and I played it in like 2 6-hour sessions, but like whatever. Players should not have to adapt their whole Switch, their whole playstyle to play a cheap little indie game. Yeah, I said it. This is an indie game. In fact, I'm holding back by not going more into this. Bottom line, it's not okay, and honestly, the developer should offer refunds to people who had the experience I had. It's not even about the money, it's about the principle of releasing a broken game more so. Like, I know this game is only $10, but that doesn't mean they can just sell me a broken product. Less content, less graphics, whatever, sure, but that's not a pass to release something this broken. In the gameplay, it's not good. Remember the first 2 games? Side-scrolling games with the occasional platform to draw, maybe some collectibles to find? Nope. This is a puzzle platformer. You either just have to get to a goal, guide dreamers to a goal safely, defeat enemies, or place toys in a convenient fashion to do one of those 3 things. The levels are no longer long outings. They're all bite-sized segments of longer levels. You talk to someone, enter their dreams to solve their problems for some reason, and you are met with a set of 3 or 4 levels, with the last one usually being a toy placement level. First of all, this is such a weird concept that the themes of the worlds rarely or outright never make sense with what the person's dreaming. Why would anyone have dreams of a side-scroller level? And how does this solve anyone's problems? Why couldn't it just be like the last game? You know, like a level select, a map. It could be picking levels from a trash can, for all I care.
You can argue that this game is immersive because of that. It's like a dream. A fever-induced nightmare.
Either face these levels via the game's brilliant story or by talking to random villagers who have quests. These specific ones are ranked via stars, which looks straight out of a mobile game, and that's when I realized, yeah, this was probably supposed to be a mobile game. You don't even draw in these levels. Why they didn't let us draw the toys at least is mind-boggling. Like, you had a golden opportunity right there, guys. Let us draw the toys. Let us draw the dreamers. You draw your character and occasionally object on the overworld. That's it. And the Switch version doesn't even let you draw on the tablet.
What? No. There's no way. They don't let you draw?
Okay, I was wrong. Because now it's working. But in that one clip, like, I was convinced it didn't work because I'm recording it now because I'm just like, all right, well, you know, let me show you that it's not working again. But now it's working, so I don't know. This game is very, very inconsistent, but it did not let me draw when I started the game, so who knows?
You want to know how the movement in this game is? Slow. Really slow. There is no sprint button. This, what you see right now, that's your top speed. There is no way to upgrade it. When you move across the map, you're also incredibly slow to the point where moving around is not fun. You can occasionally pick up these whatevers to get a temporary speed boost that lasts like 3 seconds, which means the developers knew this was a problem and didn't really want to fix it.
Ah yes, I have cavities. I'm gonna brush my teeth once a week and hope it goes away. Genius.
I don't know, the game functions, it's like, okay. Placing the toys to find the right solution can be fun at times. It's not like the core gameplay is horrible, but it certainly doesn't feel like Drawn to Life. Honestly, it feels more like Scribblenauts than anything else. Drawn to Life. More like Drawn to Lifeless.
Step right up, it's time for another episode of the hit series. Is this a puzzle level or an action level?
They're all puzzle levels and my show has now been canceled. Thank you, NBC. That's not even it. Here's a rapid fire round of problems I still have. Some of these levels are incredibly difficult, unfairly so even, and basically requires you to cheese the game to succeed. The toys and terrain are almost never exclusive to a level, so the theming is basically all useless. The hitboxes are completely nonsensical. Even when you land straight onto an enemy, you still take damage. There's no death animation, you just disappear into thin air. Levels sometimes make you wait like 30 seconds before anything even happens. There's a day to night cycle in this game for some reason, and it pauses you dead in your tracks to let you know it shifted, you know, like every good game AVGN has reviewed does. The girl in the cutscene owns a Sega Saturn and reminds me that pretty much every Sega Saturn game was 10 times better than this abomination. You could also argue it's an Apple Pippin, and still, every Apple Pippa game, probably better.
I feel bad for saying this. This is the worst Switch game I've ever played.
Listen, I know a few people do like this game, and to be fair, some stuff is subjective, like the story, and the crashes and glitches could have been exclusive to my playthrough, although from other reviews and walkthroughs I research, it happens to other people to at least some degree. The only positives are seeing the characters again, even if it's just more or less a callback, and the music and graphics were top-notch. But overall, what a depressing end to the series. You want to know what killed Drawn to Life? You want to know what killed it? It's Drawn to Life 2 Realms. The series was already in a zombie form for years, sure, and probably didn't have that much of a future to begin with, but upon release of this game, Joseph Tringali basically stated that the future of Drawn to Life, which could have been potentially ports in an actual full-fledged sequel, would entirely depend on the reaction and sales of Twin Realms. Why do game companies do this? They make a mediocre entry in a series, say, hey, if you don't want the series to die, buy our bad product. So I think it's safe to say that Drawn to Life, unfortunately, is dead, and we have not heard that much since this game. Listen, a sequel without many of the original people, specifically like Jeremiah and co, is not impossible to do. Sonic Mania was almost entirely developed by fans, and that's a near perfect experience, and I know there were a lot of veterans on this game. But here, I just can't help but feel like the original team was not present. It's honestly sort of disrespectful to the fans, to the original work, and to the characters and franchise. And to be honest, why make it a $10 game if you needed more money? Why not make it better and spend more time on it? Make it 20, 30, a retail release. This felt way too unnecessary. Drawn to Life might be dead, or at a very minimum, an indefinite break, but that's okay. I've had a lot of people in my videos comment that it's fine if a series dies. Not everything lasts forever, and that's honestly true. I don't agree for every series, Jet Set Radio should have gotten more games, and Scribblenauts, I felt, only scratched the surface of its potential. But Drawn to Life, I think it really should have just ended on the DS. Not every series can be an insane moneymaker, not every series has ideas and passion behind it to make it live forever. That doesn't change the fact, though, that we can admire gaming history from afar, which ultimately is one of the reasons I make these videos about obscure series or games. I want people to play the first 2 Drawn to Life games, and I'm hoping many do because of this video. Even though there were some games along the way today that weren't good, I don't see the series talked about all that much, and it deserves to be documented. The good times, the bad times, and the SpongeBob times. The first 2 games told a brilliant and creative story, something that really hadn't been done before in a kid's game. As such, if you grew up with the series like I did, or haven't heard of it, I recommend you cherish and play those original games again. In the same way a book can be read by generations and be remembered forever, and in the same way as even ancient cinema, Drawn to Life is art, quite literally, but figuratively, and is proof that the medium is beyond silly little products for kids. Video games tell stories.